This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Matt, it just fires me up. I do not understand why agents think that it's their job to withhold information from their clients and not disclose certain things.
Well, did you hear what happened with Jeff Bezos, who was purchasing a mansion in Miami? They didn't tell the seller that it was Jeff Bezos. He's like the richest guy in the world right now, right?
He's up there.
He's got more money than he'll ever figure out what to do with this in his entire life. But apparently he lowballed the offer, $6 million less than what they were asking.
What do you mean lowball? Like
it sold for $79 million, which is $6 million less than the seller wanted.
Okay, well, first of all,
I feel like in my world, $6 million is lowballing it.
$6 million is a lot, but this is a really clear distinction to make. The listing price is the marketing price. It's not what the home's worth. So if, let's say he listed it for $35 million and it sold for $30 million above, did he overpay for the property?
I don't know. I'm just saying here, Jeff Bezos, you got more money than you'll ever figure out what to do with. Just give the guy what he's asking for. Come on.
Just give your fellow billionaire a break. No, but here's the thing.
It's true, but listen to this. Now the seller is mad. He's ticked off, so he's suing the real estate company for not telling him that it was Jeff Bezos purchasing the home, because I think Jeff Bezos wants to combine it with another adjoining property so he can have multiple mansions.
Create a compound.
Again, with more stuff than he'll ever know what to do with. And just pay the guy the full price, what he's asking.
But here's the thing. I disagree. One, I don't think it matters who's selling the house. Like, if you're willing to sell, if you both came to terms over a price, and if, let's say, the property even appraised for that price, you're not underpaying, you're not overpaying. That's market value for the home. You know, it's the agent's job. Like, the seller gets to pick the listing price, but the buyer is the one that ultimately decides what that home is valued at.
That's true. But come on, if you knew Jeff Bezos was in the market for your home, and you found out that they through negotiations he gave you less than what you wanted for it, you'd be pretty upset.
I would be pretty upset. But what happens
But
what if Jeff Bezos walked over that $6 million? Now you have no $1 million. And come on, we're talking about crazy numbers. Here's where I don't
think he was going to walk away from that.
So
maybe I don't know Jeff Bezos like I think I do.
You don't know him?
It's been a while since we've had coffee. Maybe he's like that. Maybe he's like a Donald Trump, where he's a hard negotiator and he doesn't want to be taken advantage of.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of other options, when buying a property. Like, you don't necessarily have to get them list price. But here's where I think this is pure speculation. I don't know even the agent's names, let alone the details of the situation. But if the agent representing the seller knew that it was Jeff Bezos and withheld that information, then I think a line was crossed.
Oh, okay. So maybe he was told that, yes, this is Jeff Bezos.
If he was told that, and then and he knew that was important to his seller, but he just wanted to get the deal done, and so he withheld that information because he knew that if he disclosed that, the seller might be like, "Oh, I want my $6 million."
I would assume that he was not told that.
I would too.
I think for a high-profile personality with that much money, they don't disclose who their client is. Would you agree?
I would agree. But my point is if that listing agent knew, then a line was crossed.
Yeah.
Then a line was crossed. But as far as suing the other side...
Why would a line have been crossed? Because the seller's agent needs to tell him everything?
Yeah, he should disclose that. Like, especially if he knows that Jeff Bezos is buying a property. But what if
he did like a pinky promise? Promise not to tell your client who this guy is.
I mean, I don't know how it is in Florida, but in California, you have a legal obligation to your client to disclose.
Tell them everything.
Yeah, it's not your job.
You're like the lawyer.
It's not your job to withhold information and decide what's right and what's wrong for your client.
I didn't read the whole entire article, but I'm wondering then if it was the buyer's agent is who he's suing. Maybe he's suing the real estate firm who was representing Jeff Bezos.
That's ridiculous. What you're suing, that's like suing the lawyer who defeated you in court.
Oh, listen to this. Actually, the real estate firm handled both sides of the deal.
Oh, okay. Now you got a lawsuit. now I'm on team. Yeah.
Okay. So why have you changed your perspective on that?
Because they obviously knew who the buyer was. They knew, and they double-ended the deal. They got the deal done for $6 million less than what they clearly withheld information.
They didn't net as much.
What do you mean?
The real estate company, they didn't net as much.
Oh, but you netted more. So if you double in the deal, so let's just say 1%. If he was only representing the seller, he was only going to get 1% of that $80 million.
Right.
But so now he got 2%.
How are you saying that he crossed the line?
Because they knew. They did not. So this is a great. I'm so glad you discovered that in the article, because this is why I do not represent both buyers and sellers on the same transaction. Now, if the seller is also going to then buy a different property, I'll help them with that. But I will not represent the seller of a property and the purchasing that same property. And here's why: you cannot exclusively, to the best of your abilities, represent both parties 100%. There's always going to be some give and take there. And so what happened here is they decided to represent the buyer and withhold information about who the buyer was to the seller. The seller absolutely should have known who that, like, it's very important to him who is purchasing this property. And if they knew who that was and they did not disclose it, like that, and then they got paid double what they would have gotten paid otherwise. Like that's, I think a line was breached.
This is what they said. They said it was highly material to the negotiations and his decision on the ultimate sale price to know whether Bezos was attempting to anonymously acquire the home in order to assemble it with the adjoining property. They said had he known that it was Jeff Bezos, he would not have budged on the asking price.
Yeah, and I think it's a hard thing. Like, how do you represent both people 100%? This side, they may have technically done the right thing. Their client may have asked them not to disclose it. So now, boom, that wall's gone up. But now technically they know, but they can't disclose it.
That's a tough situation to be in that particular situation.
For the agent, it's very tough.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: they put themselves there. You could broker it out. You could refer it out. You don't have to represent both parties. They chose to take on, the liability of that situation. But here's the other thing,
That's true, because you are in a like you've just said, you are in a negotiating situation where your job is to advocate for one side, to try to win this negotiation, because that's you want to come out winning a negotiation, right?
You want to win.
And obviously there can be a win-win situation, but let's be honest, in some respects there's one person who in most cases, who either sells the home for what they were asking for or buys the home for what they want to pay for it.
Yeah, and then so like you said, win-win. You might win on price, but you might lose on terms.
Right.
You might win on the request for repairs, but you might lose on the appraisal. Like there's certain like gives and takes there. But as far as this situation, absolutely. But here's let's flip the script a little bit. We're talking about billionaires and we're talking about wealthy people. I mean, what was it, $79 million? Like for what was even on it? Like, was it just land? Like, I don't know. But $79 million for anything is an exorbitant price, right? Can we agree?
Right.
So let's flip the script. Let's say it's a minority offering on a property, right? Ethically, you should not be the sellers. Like, there's a form we actually have to fill out that says, based off these certain requirements, you cannot discriminate against somebody purchasing your house for these reasons.
Right.
And so we're talking about billionaires. It's a bit of a different situation, but so
do billionaires get discriminated?
Are they a protected class?
Are they a protected class?
I don't think so. I don't think
No.
they're not a protected class. But anyways, it's just so when people are now presenting, like, so we represent a lot of sellers. I primarily represent sellers. When somebody gives us a buyer letter on their property, this is one of the rare times I will filter out information. I will have the conversation with the client and say, hey, we may receive buyer letters. I think it's in your best interest not to see these letters, because what if there's a minority family? What if there's a mixed race family? And now you don't select their offer, then it can be said that you didn't select them because of a protected
Interesting,
class.
though, because I had some friends and they bought a home up in the hills and there were multiple offers. And they didn't get the home because they were told by the other agent that, hey, just to let you know, the reason why they decided to sell the home to this other family is because they wrote a sweet letter. They said how much they liked this type of the property, blah, blah, blah. And that's why they won the home. So in their next bid for the home, they said, okay, they wrote a letter and they got the home they wanted. So... So
if you're representing a buyer, write the letter, but know that if you're coming up against a listing agent like myself or others who just understand the legal ramifications of presenting those letters, you may be writing them, but they may not be being presented.
Interesting.
But again, it's up to my client. I'd say, hey, we got some letters. Do you want to see the letters?
Oh, gotcha.
And then if they're like, no, I just want to pick based off the terms of the offer, so that way I'm not being biased or prejudiced against any protected class, then we don't present the letters.
Is it a computer printed typed letter, or is it in cursive? Is it handwritten?
So sometimes what they'll do is they'll actually embed them in the offers, and so you have to split the PDF.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's actually a bit of a headache.
Wow.
But oftentimes it is typed.
It's a little color drawing of their 5-year-old daughter of the house.
In the house. Yeah. I just can't wait for the play in the treehouse. And so what they'll do is they'll typically type it up so it's easily read, like easy to read, so it's not somebody's handwriting. They'll type it up. They'll embed a photo like on the thing, like a Christmas card, and they'll send it in, and then they'll all sign it.
See, I like that though. I'm telling you, if I was selling my home,
You'd want to see the letters.
Yeah, but then knowing that this is a tactic, I'd be suspect too. I don't know. It's like, oh, is this a fake photo? Google it, see if this is an image they pulled online. Yeah,
that looks like the family from Full House.
But that's sweet though. Yeah, exactly. That's sweet though. I don't know. That's just me, but interesting. So. There you go. I think Jeff Bezos is going to be all right, whether or not he gets sued or not.
Yeah, whether or not he gets sued, but man, that agent, I do not. That's why
it's a bad idea.
Yeah, do not do that. If your agent is saying that they'll do that, like that. Oftentimes, here's what happens: is buyers will then come to the listing agent and say, "Hey, will you reduce your fee? Will you give me a kickback if I go through you, rather than bringing my own buyer's agent into the situation?" And so sometimes agents are like, yeah, I'll make a little extra money. I'll control the process. That's good. Sometimes the seller will say, hey, since you're representing both sides here, reduce the fee. And so sometimes like they encourage it, but full stop. I just will not touch it with a 10-foot pole.
That's tough. Apparently he wants to buy 3 homes in this Miami exclusive it's called Indian Creek Village Island. So he's purchasing 3 homes.
All right. Well,
it's important. I don't know what he needs 3 homes for his 3 wives, his 3 girlfriends.
3 homes on the Christmas list. Hey, if 1 home's good, 3 homes are better.
There you go.
I wouldn't mind being Jeff Bezos' realtor. So, all right. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about the most expensive place to rent and when is it a good idea to do for sale by owners.
Mike, as you know, I am very competitive. Mm-hmm. So when I'm coaching my kids in soccer, I am loud, I am passionate, I am into it. And you know who's like that as well? Our good friend Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty. He is passionate about what he does. He's very competitive, like he was with Kathleen and Phil, who wanted to sell their home in Folsom so they could retire out of state. Johnny and his team at Made for More Realty, they were not only able to sell their home in 6 days, but also earn them a record price for that neighborhood.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you use Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty. You get not just Johnny, but an entire team of professionals dedicated to making your home selling process the easiest and most efficient it can be. And that is why they are Sacramento's most positively Google-reviewed real estate brokerage with over 780 5-star reviews, and they've been voted the #1 team in Roseville for the last 3 years. So if you need to sell your home and you want to be confident that you're getting the best price and it's going to be sold as quickly as possible, you got to call Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team with Made for More Realty and ask about the Bay Area marketing plan. Expect more, get more with Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty, brokered by EXP. Just Google Made for More Realty today and get more for your home. License number 581837.